Hey guys, Matt Miller here. Watch this ABC reporter get his balls served to him on a plate by Nancy Mace when he thinks that he has her cornered. He asks her a very, aggressive question about her proposal to ban transgender people from using the wrong bathroom, basically, in Congress. That's her big crusade right now, and she is causing a huge stir on Capitol Hill and in the media. A lot of the lefties hate this. He walks up to her outside of the Capitol, confronts her about this, and she destroys him and just puts him right in his place. It's beautiful to see. Check it out right here.
Here she goes. Here's Congresswoman Mace. Congresswoman Mace, can I ask you a question as you walk here? So the question is, with your piece of legislation about banning women from using...
100% yes.
My question to you is...
It doesn't go far enough. I'll be filing more bills.
You have said that it was created in response to Congresswoman-elect McBride.
100%.
But should legislation be created targeted at one specific person?
It doesn't mention anyone in the legislation, but
you've said it was aimed at her.
No, I have said it's a result of this. I'm not going to allow biological men into women's private spaces. I will stand in the brink and stand in the way of anyone on the radical left who thinks that it's okay for a penis to be in a women's locker room or a bathroom or a changing room. Hell no. I am not going to stand for it. And the Speaker said it would be in the House rules package. If it's not, I will be ready with a motion, a privileged motion to force a vote on this. This is not okay. I'm a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. And I'm not going to allow any man in any female private spaces.
Now, Speaker,
end of story. And by the way, I'm getting death threats from men pretending to be women. Why is it that these crazy people, the insanity, the radical left, are willing to kill women over a man's right to be in a women's restroom?
Speaker Johnson has said he wants to treat every new member with the words dignity and respect. Forcing this congressperson to go into a male restroom, is that dignity and respect?
Forcing women to share private spaces with men is not dignity and not respect. And I'm absolutely going to stand in the way of anyone who thinks it's okay for a man to be in our locker room, in our changing rooms, in our dressing rooms, in women's bathrooms. And in fact, if you agree with that, you're crazy, because that's not okay. It's not okay.
Congresswoman,
Thank you, Congressman. We're going to peel away from this conversation, Kira. So a little bit of the context of what we were just talking about, and I'm going to have my cameraman step out of the active driveway here, was that Nancy Mace put forward this piece of legislation. It was aimed, she said, although the name is not in the legislation, at a new member of Congress, Sarah McBride of Delaware, who is a transgender woman. She has said that the legislation would prevent women from using male restrooms and vice versa in the United States Capitol.
When I was a reporter on the ground at the Daily Caller, I would wait outside the Capitol with my question ready and wait for whoever it was to come out, congressman, senator. And basically what happened to this reporter here is exactly what you did not want to have happen. You did not want to get put in your place or seem unprepared, and you definitely wanted to make sure you did your homework and were ready for what they were going to say. Nancy Mace is one of the fiercest fighters in the Republican Party right now, and she is causing massive waves with her proposed legislation that would ban biological men from using the women's room and vice versa in Congress. And, she's making a very bold statement here. And she said that this is related to a Democrat congressperson who is transgender that she saw using the women's room in the Capitol. And this disturbed her. She said this was a problem and she wanted to address it. Now, here's the thing. We know that the Democrats are hell-bent on asserting their worldview that gender is non-binary and anybody can be anything. And it really stems back deep into what left-wing ideology really is, which is moral relativism. And it's really just the idea that there is no truth, there is no objective right and wrong. Everything is subjective, everything is up for debate. And it goes back into like their atheism as well. So, getting it back on track with this, they think that gender falls into this category too. There is no two categories, and they want to assert this and ostracize anybody who goes against their dogma in a very religious way, ironically. They say they don't want to be religious. They're very atheist. They are condescending to and belittling to Christians and people who are religious. But their worldview, their far left atheist, subjective, moral subjectivism worldview is just as dogmatic, if not more so. I'd say it's more so than any Christianity sect or any other religion, really. So, and look at how everybody is reacting to what Nancy Mace is saying here. She wants legislation that says men use men's rooms and women use women's rooms. And because a very, very small minority, a small fraction of the population falls into this transgender category that everything in our society needs to be bent to accommodate. And in Congress too, there's one congressperson who identifies as transgender. So this doesn't really affect most people. Almost nobody is affected by this. Everyone's using the correct bathroom already. But they feel the need, the compulsion to make sure that this worldview is upheld and that people who go against it are ostracized, attacked, harassed, and shown to be monsters, demonized. People on the right, like Nancy Mace, genuinely want to defend women's private spaces. And also they want to defend women's sports. They want to make sure that women's sports are fair competition, as fair as they can be. And having people who are born men with biologically male bodies is not a fair competition in women's sports. Just like women's restrooms, women's changing rooms, even more so than men's changing rooms, should be places where women feel safe and are not going to be subject to people who are biologically men that have male appendages and male anatomy in there with them, possibly with the wrong intentions, right? I'm not saying that every transgender person that wants to use the women's room is a predator, but there is a possibility for that. But there's no possibility for that if everyone has to use the bathroom that corresponds with their biological anatomy. And I think that that's really, it doesn't matter if I walk into a men's room and I see somebody dressed like a woman and they have a penis. I'm not mad at that. It's like, yeah, you're using the right bathroom. That's fine. You could be dressed however you want. You could be dressed in a suit. You could be dressed in PJs. You could be dressed as a woman, but you're in the right bathroom. And everybody, I'm sure women feel that the same way as if somebody was dressed as a man, but they clearly weren't a man, they were in the correct bathroom that corresponded with what they biologically are, then that wouldn't matter to them. It doesn't matter how you're dressed or how you present. Use the men's room if you were born male, use the women's room if you were born female, and everybody will feel safer. There's no reason for transgender people to not feel safe if they're dressed as a woman and they happen to be trans, just like a flamboyant gay person uses the men's room. They act very feminine. They dress very flamboyantly. They're dressed different than most other men, but they still, of course, would use the men's room and they'd have no problem doing so. So all of this to me is common sense. I think Nancy Mace is trying to propose common sense, and she knows that it's going to be a stick of dynamite and it's going to cause all this uproar and stuff. And I think that she's enjoying it, which is good. She should. She should get the most out of it and make her point, because this point needs to be made. Check out her X post from the other day where she takes a total victory lap and explains her thinking on this. I think that she's using this as that stick of dynamite to get the left in an uproar, to just really expose how radical they are and how vicious they'll become over such a tiny, tiny fraction of the population that this affects.
Hey everyone, I seemed to blow up the radical left last night. I filed a resolution that would ban biological men from women's private spaces on the Hill. I'm just getting started, and I've already nowhere near stopping, and the death threats that I'm receiving now aren't going to stop me either. So I've said it before and I'll say it again. Come at me, bro, or bros in this case. I'm not going to take your threats for an answer, and I'm going to fight like hell for women and girls to keep men out of women's private spaces, to include bathrooms, restrooms, locker rooms, changing rooms, you name it. You are not welcome.
Nancy Mace is a fighter through and through. I think that she's choosing the right hill to die on here. Not that she's going to die. I think she's going to win this. She's going to come out the other side, on the side of common sense, and really just expose the Democrats for how radical they've become. It's clear why they lost the election. This kind of thinking, this kind of deep-seated compulsion to defend these radical left-wing ideas at the expense of most people and most people's common sense and comfort and daily experience, that is what lost them the election. They hold this stuff to be religious rights that must be defended at all costs. They're in a holy war with normal Americans. because they need their left-wing ideology to prevail in every corner of our society. And I think it's dying. It's starting to wither. People are identifying this for what it is, a radical religion in a way that needs to be rooted out, or at least needs to be put aside and shown for what it is. Common sense in America: men use men's rooms, women use women's rooms, and there's always that other bathroom too, that like family bathroom, that private bathroom that's just one stall. That seems to be a great accommodation for transgender people. Otherwise, transgender people should be able to use the bathroom that corresponds with their anatomy without any threat of anything. You know, they can safely use it. You know, I don't know any men who would get upset if they saw a transgender person using the men's room. So anyway, let me know what you guys thought of this video in the comments. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Ring the notification bell so you guys get notified when we post new videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.